All right, so as far as Ja Morant, what he's going through with trying to be like a fake thug and shit like that, let's watch the video and I'll explain what I think about it. I think why he's in hot water is because didn't he sneak this gun into like an NBA owned, something that has to do with the NBA. But here he was at a strip club. All right, so he's listening to NBA Youngboy. Ja Morant's only 23 on top of that, so he's rich. He's 23. He's listening to NBA Youngboy. I don't think that he should be punished for having a firearm to protect himself, considering he's rich. And when you're black and rich, you're definitely gonna have niggas gunning for you. Even if it's a psychological thing, because society is programmed, not society is programmed, but our own fake ass black community has programmed us into thinking that we should always have protection, or if we don't, we're gonna get caught quote unquote lacking. All right, so Ja Morant is rich as fuck, 23 years old, young as shit, successful as fuck, one of the biggest faces of the NBA, and he's going through, I want to call it honey badger masculinity syndrome. Now, the reason why I call that honey badger masculinity syndrome is because when I was a kid, I went through the same shit, but I was not rich. I was not worth 200 million. Well, I didn't have a $200 million contract. On top of that, I wasn't signed with Powerade. On top of that, I didn't have a Nike deal. But the reason why I say I can relate to what Ja Morant is going through, because this is what happens in an era like this, right? So Ja Morant went to a private school. The reason why I say I can relate is because I went to private schools. Everybody knows when you're black and you have a good family, or you have a parent that wants to put you in a higher grade of education, when you're black, you're going to get clowned. So one of the problems with Ja Morant, I truly believe, is that he probably was teased growing up for going to a private school. If you're not wearing the best Nikes, you're going to get clowned. If you're too good in school, you're going to get clowned. In the black community, when you're a black dude growing up, if you're not trying to be cool, you're considered a square. Girls don't like you. People are going to call you soft. They're going to say this. They're going to say that. They don't think you can't fight, this and that. It's a masculinity issue in the black community. Now, what Ja Morant is doing right now is just being a young, rich-ass nigga just having a good time. The gun shit, when the NBA is watching you, was it irresponsible? Yes. Do I believe Ja Morant is trying to be a thug? No. I believe that he's not trying to, quote-unquote, get caught lacking. We don't know what's in Ja Morant's DMs. We don't know if he's getting death threats. We don't know if Ja Morant has people sending him all types of weird shit. We don't know. So the fact that everybody would just sit here and be like, oh man, he's just doing too much, trying to be a thug, a gangster. It's a fucked up thing in the black community as black men, where if you don't flex masculinity, you're gonna be considered soft. I feel like Ja Morant maybe watched a lot of Allen Iverson growing up. Considering that he's only 23, that would probably be like his Michael Jordan in a sense. You know, the tattoos, the flexing, the thug shit, this and that. On top of that, when you start to have money, you start to feel like you could conquer anything. You just got the most power. Everybody around Ja Morant are yes men. He's got everything that every nigga will want at 23 years old. All right, I see a young nigga at 23 having a good time. So he showed the gun, very irresponsible. It seems like in the NBA, they take this shit extremely serious. NBA, like hella years ago, they even banned niggas, I want to say niggas, aka blacks. They banned black people from wearing jewelry in the fucking gym. And, you know, when you come to a game, you had to wear a suit. They banned niggas from wearing jewelry and fucking hip hop clothing. On top of that, I see them flashing gang signs and shit like that. We live in America, why you suspended? Because you can't do that shit in the NBA. You still got a job regardless of how much money you're getting. You said he need a better gun. What's that? What does that shit look like? What is that? The fuck is that? Like a small Glock? Like what the fuck is, what kind of gun is that? I was gonna say a 22, but I was like, there's no way this nigga's showing a 22. That's why I didn't say it. I was like, there's no way this nigga's showing a 22 right now. This looks like a gun that a chick should have in her purse, just in case a nigga just pulls up like, yeah, I just thought you were very sexy. I went to know if I can get your number on some Jeffrey Dahmer. She just pulls the gun out and say, stand back. Like one of those type of guns. So I went to private school. I told you, one of the worst things you could say to like a black kid that wants to be cool is exposed that they went to a private school. I went through this shit. I used to want to be a thug and shit like that because I thought when you were a thug, you got bitches. I thought when you were a thug, niggas respected you and you could be cool around blacks. That used to be one of my goals in like 9th grade. Like I wanted to be cool around the niggas. I remember when I was in 9th grade, I just felt like such a geek because all my friends, like nobody was cool. None of us got bitches. But then when I would look over there by the cafeteria, like it just looked like a lit fucking party. Like all the niggas was like dancing and saying, yeah, nigga, hell yeah, nigga, you know what the fuck? Ah, nigga. Let me tell you something. To all my black people in here, tell me it don't feel good when you're having a good time around niggas and it's lit and it's just a bunch of niggas. Like, it's just an unexplainable type of feeling. It's just everybody getting along. We got the same dialect. It's not on no bullshit. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, it's just like, it's an unexplainable vibe. You gotta be a nigga and you gotta know what I'm talking about right now. So that's what I wanted. All my friends coming out of junior high and shit like that into high school, none of them were black and nobody was lit. So I used to yearn to be like a part of a lit black crowd. And I used to just want cool black friends so bad because I just wanted to be cool. I wanted to be around niggas. I just like, I wanted that. I wanted to be around niggas wearing Jordans and getting bitches. That's what I wanted. So I know how Ja Morant feels. He's doing everything he probably couldn't really do, but now it's amplified because he's rich. First day of school, 10th grade, my friends tried to kick it with me. I ran from these niggas every day till they stopped chasing me. They didn't like physically chase me, but I'd see them at school and run. And I just tried to network with niggas. I started kicking it around blacks. I started just hanging around in the nigga area. So I understand how Ja Morant feels, like, cause I was that kid. It feels good to be like some fake ass honey badger. Like anybody that's like from any type of like street environment, like it feels good to do fuckery. Like if it feels good to destroy shit and just be a coon. Like just being around a bunch of niggas, just being a nigga. Like it's something that when you're young, depending on what type of upbringing you have, it's just something. It's just something that you want to fucking do. Like a fucking surge of energy, like a fucking adrenaline boost. I remember being like fucking 17, just fucking shit up. They was building new 2-story houses. Me and all my black friends went there busting light bulbs, throwing fucking rocks at BMWs that passed, taking fire extinguishers. We was just doing destructive shit. And it just felt good. So I know how Ja Morant feels when he flashing that gun and being rich. But at the same time, it's also irresponsible because you got a Powerade contract. I wasn't a rich ass nigga, but you got a Powerade contract. You got a Nike contract. You're one of the faces of the new school of NBA. Like this nigga Ja Morant is what, 3 years in the league? Like to me, Ja Morant is my favorite newcomer player. I think the nigga's lit. I also like the fact that he's 6'2", but he got the mindset of like a 6'8" motherfucker. Got dunks, everything. Like the nigga has the swag of Iverson. Like he reminds me of like Iverson. Understand what he's going through. Ja Morant, I think them having him take a leave, like I said, we don't know what he's going through. We don't know if he's getting death threats. Nobody, unless you're a black man that dealt with identity issues, you can never understand what Ja Morant is going through. If you were raised well and never wanted to be cool, you can't speak on this topic. You just can't. His career never recovered. Yeah, but this is a new day and age, though. He might be getting suspended for 50. I think that Ja Morant's gonna get suspended for the rest of the season, actually. I'll be very surprised if he returns. Kyrie had issues, what he did and got dropped by Nike and everything. Here's the thing. Here's the difference between Ja Morant and Irving is because Ja did some honey badger coonery shit. You'll get a pass for being a coon. But when you start anything anti-Semitic, you start pissing off Jewish people, it's over, nigga. You could get a pass for being a coon, but there's just certain lines niggas gotta know not to cross. They did that to make a quick example. The fact that he shared it, they did it like, he trying to be one of them smart house niggas. Well, all right, we're gonna show him how smart house niggas get reprimanded. Pull his Nike contract. That's basically what happened. It wasn't anti-Semitic. I know it was, but I'm saying it's the fact that Kyrie would do a little slick shit and they probably thought that he was trying to be on some slick shit. You get what I'm saying? The reason why Ja Morant gets a pass is because he's 23, and on top of that, he did some honey badger shit. You get a pass, when you're on this level, you get a pass for being a nigga, right? You could be black and make all these dumb coonery mistakes all you want. But when you start pissing off the Jewish community and they think you're trying to be slick and undermine them in any kind of way, they're gonna cut your shit off. No matter how rich and lit you are, you still work for this. Like if I'm a lit rich actor, right? What still signs my checks are studios. It's the studios that sign my checks. What black people we gotta understand is in this realm, we're not in charge by any means necessary. There's a handful of billionaires, and even then, there's probably some higher up that could rip their shit away from them if they want. We've seen it happen to Kanye West. Yeah, so is John Morant gonna recover from this situation? Yeah, it might kill the rest of his season, but this is just this is how it feels to be in the mind of a 23-year-old black guy that's lit, rich, and young and fucking got all this money. Like, he'll get over it. You said his dad is acting like his best friend instead of a father? What, because he like daps his dad up? Dude, all right, get out of here, nigga. Fuck out of here with that kid. Ja's dad trying to be a celebrity? How old is Ja's dad? John Morant's dad is only 45 years old. That's not even old. John Morant's dad appears to be old because he got that old head energy. His son's 23. They could be lit together. On top of that, his pop's been there his whole life. He deserves to be lit. Ja's dad don't deserve to be lit? That's what you telling me? Bruh, let me tell you something. Here, I got an analogy for you. How many of our dads deserve to be lit? How many of your dads deserve to be lit? You know how I know don't nobody's dad in here deserve to be lit? Because you wouldn't be in my fucking stream if that was the case. It's just that serious. Nah, I'm not cooking my fans. That's me included. None of our dads in this chat deserve to be lit. How many of you guys will buy your dad a mansion right now if you got rich? And to the people that say yes, I'm gonna ask you why. Most of us will buy our mothers a goddamn mansion. We came out of their pussies. You say your dad did everything he could, or did he do the bare minimum? Exactly. See how reluctant a lot of us are for our dads versus our mom? Doesn't that suck? He worked his ass off to feed you and shape you into a great individual. What does that even mean? Are you a millionaire? My view of parenting is just like completely different than the norm. Because a lot of us that don't have kids, we could say, well, you don't got kids, you don't know how it feels. But I was a motherfucking kid though. So how the fuck would I not know when I lived it? I feel like a lot of parents just do the bare fucking minimum. Like, you know what the bare minimum is? Don't want kids in the future? I do. The reason why I say a lot of parents do the bare minimum is because a lot of our parents just did this. But don't do drugs, go to school, do your homework, get good grades. But a lot of our parents didn't lay down the rubrics of what it is to life. I thank my parents for the genetics, absolutely. Love my mom to death. But we talking about in general, most parents just have kids and just like, you're not really doing anything. Most kids, I think, are like unguided. Like most kids grow up unguided. Like I drove past McDonald's the other day and I just see like a bunch of like 15, 16-year-old niggas just out there fucking around. Like, nah, nigga, that's the fuck I'm talking about. Pushing each other, slap boxing. That's failure already. In the day and age that we're in right now, there's like a 15, 16-year-old outclassing you right now. If it's a 7-year-old kid just at home playing with fucking Duplo blocks and playing on a tablet, there's a 7-year-old that's outclassing them doing some shit right now. A lot of motherfuckers just have kids and just send them to school and send them a lunch and wait for them to come home and let them watch some movies and go to bed. Like, what the fuck is that? You want to know what the product of like good parenting is? Shit, believe it or not, like John Morant, fucking Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake. I don't care what you guys say about being crazy, Britney Spears. Regardless of the fact her parents set her up, no matter how haywire she is right now, they set her up. That's what good parenting is. Michael Jackson, I don't give a fuck how many ass whoopings he got. He wouldn't have been Michael Jackson without those ass whoopings. Yup, Ball Brothers. Look, here's a choice. Look, you could sacrifice some fun, whack-ass video games in your childhood, or you could be great. It's just that fucking simple. Which one would you choose? Like, if you could just have this brain and look back and your parents said, all right, look, you could play video games, jump in the balls at Chuck E. Cheese. You can have all the Legos, toys, all you want, or you could be great. Of course we'd all choose great because we know for a goddamn fucking fact that if our parents really grinded their asses off and perfected a craft for us early, our lives would be lit. Beyonce, there's another one. Without Beyonce's parents riding her fucking ass her whole life, she wouldn't be fucking Beyonce. I mean, there's some people that crack the code that slip through the cracks, but for the most part, most of the greats, even Kobe Bryant was playing basketball at 7 years old. Why? Because his fucking parents put that shit in his hand. Most of the greats, they started dumb early because of their parents. Led them in that direction. You paid me to say something stupid that doesn't make any sense. Go put your fucking head in the toilet and flush it with Dookie in it. That shows how much of importance you are. That you had to pay me to say something in my fucking chat when you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. As much as Mayweather had a beef with his pops, Mayweather wouldn't be Mayweather if his dad didn't put him in a boxing ring early. But as far as all of us regular motherfuckers that's really out here trying to get it and make something of ourselves because our parents like didn't really do the maximum, they did that. I feel like everybody in this chat, whether you believe it or not, our parents did the bare minimum. As much as we love our parents and shit like that, they did the bare minimum. Because we all got the same stories. We all came home and ate Lunchables and our parents just said, get good grades and go to school and shit. Like, I'm not trying to shame anybody here that got parents, but did your parents really did they really perfect and scientifically and beat your ass for nothing? You know how many unwarranted ass whoopings I had, bro? Let me tell you guys the worst ass whooping I ever had. All right, so I loved Game Boys growing up. I used to always bring my Game Boys to school. So I'd be under the desk. Now I knew it wasn't a good look. I knew it wasn't a good idea, but I'd be under the desk playing my Game Boys and shit. I would always get my Game Boys tooken because I knew I shouldn't have been playing my Game Boys in school. So I knew I wasn't supposed to do it, but I was a kid. I wanted to bring my fucking Game Boy to school. Like, what kid doesn't want to show off their handhelds and video games at school? We're kids. This is a new school I was in. I was playing my fucking Game Boy. Teacher seen it. It's like, give me that. Takes it, puts it in her desk. She says, you're not going to get it back unless your mom calls me and signs for it. So what do? Thinking I could outsmart my teacher. I go home, I write some sloppy ass letter. And I think, what did it say? It said sorry, he made a mistake. Please give him back his Game Boy. He'll never bring it back again. And I forged my mom's signature. Gave that shit to the teacher. She looked at it, gave me back my Game Boy. There was another time, there was a progress report where I knew I fucked up. It said satisfactory instead of, satisfactory is just satisfactory means you're not trying. Now me, I would always get in trouble if I didn't get good grades. Sorry, I was just supposed to get good grades. They gave me the progress report, I forged the progress report again. My other teacher calls my mom and rats to my fucking mom and says, yeah, I think that your son forged your signature. This can't be your handwriting, right? Is this your handwriting? Is this your letter? Did you sign for this progress report? My mom was like, did you forge my signature? Yeah, Mom, sorry, blah, blah, blah. She's like, if you ever forge my signature again, I'm gonna give you the worst ass beating you ever had. I had already forged her signature for the Game Boy already. I never got caught for the Game Boy first. The first time I got caught for the progress report. What it ended up happening was my other teacher, 3 weeks later, calls my mom and says, excuse me, this is such and such. I just wanted to know if you ever sent a letter to get his Game Boy out of my desk. And I was sitting right there. And my mom was like, no, but I told him to never forge my signature again. She only told me not to do it for the second time. It's not like she caught me twice. So I said, no, I did that one before. She called after you told me to never do it again. She's like, shut up. I don't want to hear you say nothing. My mom had this 40-hole paddle with holes in it. It was something you play paddleball with. The old heads be like clunk, clunk, clunk in the gyms, right? Obviously I love my mom with the utmost passion and respect to this day. But this was an unlawful ass beating. But I was dealing with a young, vibrant black woman as a mom. So any fucking ways. So my mom had 4 silk scarves. Now, me and my sister had bunk beds. So after we became a certain age, she unhooked the bunk beds. My sister's shit was in her room, I'm in mine. Those bunk beds had 4 wooden posts. She tied me up to 4 bedposts as if I was a black slave. Like I was a pig roasting over an open fire. Tied me up into all 4 bedposts, stretched, and gave me 30 ass whoopings. And I'm spinning around like an animal trying to get out of a trap. I'm like, hey, like, you know, crying and shit like that. All over forging the signature to get a Game Boy back. Bro, that was the worst ass beating I ever had. I was just like, I'm just sitting there trying to spin to get out of this shit. I'm just like crying and shit. I mean, it didn't make me a better kid or a better person. It's just like, why? Yeah, so that was the worst ass beating I ever had. And it just, I don't know, my mom would just keep this 40-hole paddle. It's just crazy thinking of her like this because she ain't nothing like that no more. She's just like very sweet and like my mom used to be like a very, like I was terrified of my mom when I was younger because I just knew like anything I was going to get in trouble for it. Like, but when I think about like every ass beating I ever had, it didn't, that's not what taught me how to be a certain person. Like, I don't think spanking kids works. But yeah, spankings don't work. Me personally, I don't believe in beating something that I busted a nut, impregnated a woman, watched it grow in her stomach for it to come out and I hold and birth and teach. Like, I don't believe, like, I would never put my hands on my child under any circumstance. Like, for one, there's gonna be like a level of respect. I want you to have a lit life where you're learning, where you're doing this, that. But me personally, I would never put my hands on my kids. Literally, there's no reason, because I feel like with excellent parenting, there's no reason. There's like an unspoken respect that's there to where we never got to get physical. I can't imagine like choking my kid out. Not saying this shit happened to me, but I can't imagine like putting my kid in a chokehold, socking my kid, uppercutting my kid, throwing my kid. Like, I just couldn't do it. Taking a weapon and using it on my kid, I literally couldn't do it. It's all about the environment. That's why I also think that kids shouldn't be raised in apartments either. You know, when a kid's raised in an apartment, they're always gonna envy kids that live in houses. Anybody here ever been raised in an apartment? All that shit is psychological. It fucks with you. A lot of people don't understand that raising a kid is psychological. I know because I was a kid. Kids that are raised in homes versus apartments are two totally different kids. Because when you go to your friends' houses, and they live in houses and shit, they got their own rooms. It's like a family type of vibe. And then you gotta go home to a motherfucking apartment. I think that when you raise a kid in an apartment, it gives them something to envy. Because even if you give that kid all the Jordans, all the shoes, this and that, they still going home to a fucking apartment. Especially if they have friends with homes, they're gonna start to question, well, why doesn't my dad and mom, why don't we have a house? And then they might get teased not having a house. You're gonna get teased because damn, that nigga fucking such a live in an apartment here. Like, don't you want your future kids to like come home to a fucking house? Don't you want them to come home to a home? All my apartment niggas in here, don't you want your kids to be raised in a home? You want to raise them in a fucking apartment building? I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a lot of psychological things that, like, especially like I feel like now is even worse because of social media and shit like that it creates a lot of envy, and like a lot of envy will fuck up a kid's mind. Because what do we want when we're kids? We want shit we can't have. Exactly. Then the badger effect, especially if you're black, the badger effect start happening, because when you black, you're gonna get roasted too. So I don't know what goes on in like when you're a white kid or something like that, or an Hispanic kid, but when you're Kleist with 100 though,
I'll try and follow up again. Amazing to see you. 1K viewers on
with 100 though. Oh shit! The point I'm trying to make is, we love our parents, but moving forward, whenever all of us start to have kids, we should probably do shit different. Don't fuck people you don't like, because then that shit might rub off on your fucking kids. I know, imagine fucking somebody you didn't like. If I was psychologically weak, I would have just killed myself, honestly. But